Are you, okay?
I think I am.
But are you a guy?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, that was a good nap until the end here. Whew. How long was I out? Oh, son of a... What's going on, my roundtable? My name is Excaliber596, and today we will finally be going over what would happen in a hypothetical death battle between the one and only guy with a triangle fetish and Mr. Brotherly Love himself.
And I got a bigger dick.
Legend of Zelda's Link and Devil May Cry's Dante. Respectively, of course. Link doesn't have a brother, and I guess Dante has a triangle fetish, but only for the ones that stick into demons' flesh, but whatever, getting off course here. I'm mainly going off of the versions of these characters that I covered in my previous videos about them, namely Dante versus the hero of all. I was initially just going to put the two characters head to head to see who won, but after getting a fresh perspective on the characters, I realized that doing so would effectively result in another corrections video, ending with a few sentences on why one would stomp the other. And that would really suck, considering I've been hyping this video up for so long that another frickin' Zelda game was in the works! So in order to set a precedent on my channel and make future versus battles more interesting for me to make and for you to watch, here's how this is gonna go down. Each one of my versus battle videos will feature 2 rounds. Round 1 will be the bulk of the video, where the character stats are relatively equalized, because while I am going to be power scaling the characters accurately, it will only be to determine who's better at what aspect, rather than determining an outright victor. The stat number will be based on the tiering systems of the versus battle wiki, starting at 1, which is below average human, and ending at 30, which is outerversal. Then round 2 will be a brief explanation of what would happen if traditional power scaling were taken into effect, not equalizing the characters, possibly going over the winner's feats, and why they would ultimately win in a real fight. Now, seeing as this is the first death battle video on my channel, I feel like I should let you know the ground rules I set up for each fight to take place. No outside help or prep time unless there's something to bypass it. No common consumable items unless the character's abilities demand it. The fight itself will take place in a separate dimension that accommodates for both fighters' abilities. Battlefield removal does count as a win if the opponent is permanently removed from the field. And finally, the battles will go under the assumption that the characters have gone through all of their canon material without dying unless the plot demands it, and are also allowed any completion bonuses that they may gain after 100%ing their games. Oh, and no cheat codes or Easter eggs allowed. It's literally got cheat in the name, so it's a no-no. So now that we have all the pleasantries out of the way, let's get this going so I can go stab a sword to my chest in the hopes of it either giving me unimaginable power or ending my eternal suffering.
That is nothing but the pitiful cries of those without strength.
Offense is mainly determined by a character's attack potency. This doesn't have as much to do with their destructive capacity, i.e. what they can blow up, but rather how much force they can put behind a single strike. I feel like I should start off with Link because he called shotgun, and if you don't respect shotgun, you're either a terrible human being or my older brother.
You are bold to come to
the front seat,
the den of your enemies. This was once my home. Did your masters not tell you who I was?
Hyrule's chosen hero has had many interesting feats throughout his history that give him much higher numbers than you'd expect. As I explained in my video about him, even the weakest Link... No! Shut up, old me. I'm above puns now, and I will not allow that kind of foolishness to gore on any longer. Wait. So yeah, even the weakest of Links have shown celestial body level feats, besting stated planet busters like Malladus and Majora, as well as taking on the Triforce of Power infused Ganondorf on a regular basis. This is a guy who was able to stop the planet's rotation to create an endless night in Wind Waker with only half of his power intact. Some of the strongest Links have even been able to best the evils of Hyrule in their strongest forms, even without the use of the Triforce of Courage, like when he took on Demise in Skyward Sword and beat Dark Beast Ganon in Breath of the Wild. This puts him at star to large star levels of attack potency at his strongest moments just as individuals. Then adding on his many strength amplifying treasures like the Golden Gauntlets, his many rings, the Triforce of Courage, and the Golden Sword, a composited Link should be around Solar System level in base. And let's not forget that Link also has a transformation into the powerful Fierce Deity, which, considering the increase it gave to the Hero of Time and Majora's Mask, likely makes a composite Fierce Deity Link a multi-solar system level fighter. Dante, however, is a whole other animal when it comes to strength. Now, I know this is going to be different from what I said in my original video, but I've actually had multiple conversations with Devil May Cry Powerscales, like my pals Zimatorn, Mr. Mangler, and everyone else on his Discord who have convinced me otherwise, so my bad? With this new information, they prove to me that Mundus does have the potential to pull off the Hideki Kamiya universe statement I contested in previous videos. The blood fruit of the Qlipoth tree in DMC5 that Mundus was confirmed to have eaten is casually creating an alternate dimension in the appearance of Dante and Virgil's old home in order to give Virgil's demonic half a calming area to claim the Qlipoth's power, as stated in the DMC5 Japanese art book. There are also many occurrences centered around the events of DMC2 that show these feats to be consistent. In the novel, Dante has a run-in with a demon created by Mundus known as the Beast Heads. The Beast Heads consume Dante, bring him into yet another dimension ruled by an alternate version of Mundus known by the community as Void Mundus. Yes, this is in a canon novel, and it's really dumb. Void Mundus is a literal void of darkness attacking Dante from all sides until Dante just decides to start hitting him somehow, killing the entity fairly easily and returning to his home realm. He later gets shanked with the artifact that holds the Beast Head's power and states that whoever controls it can bend reality to their will, and then defeats the Beast Head's user, Chen the Cannibal, in spite of that. Ugh. Moving on to the game. Dante is also able to bring down a demon on the same level of Mundus known as Argostax, who is stated to have been slowly bringing the infinite-sized demon realm into the human realm just with his presence alone. These are all beyond universal feats that Dante is able to compete with without the use of his Devil Trigger transformation, and before the massive amp to his base in DMC5 after fusing with the Sparta, cementing him as a multi-universal fighter in his base form after the fact. This can later increase beyond with the use of his initial Devil Trigger state, and possibly to multiversal with his Sin Devil Trigger state.
Courage need not be remembered, for it is never forgotten.
Defense is mainly determined by a character's durability, or how much force they can take without getting Borosed. Yeah, like that. This stat usually tends to be a bit easier to measure because many characters tend to fight on par with opponents dealing the same amount of damage as they can, meaning that it's quite common for many characters to have their durability equal to their attack potency. There are exceptions, glass cannons and tanks are a thing, but that's not the case for these particular characters. Now you could argue that it should be less for Dante, considering he does tend to get stabbed and pierced a lot by common demons, and uses his regen to make up for it, but we have still seen him survive non-piercing blows from Urizen and Nero, who scale to him in terms of attack potency, so it's not really much of a stretch to say that his offense and defense stats are still equal.
I swear! I'm not letting you die!
Speed is determined by a character's combat speed, or what kind of speeds they can react to during a fight. See it? It's speed. While Link isn't necessarily known for his speed, he actually has some fairly impressive speed feats throughout his history. Many of the other Links have been able to react to lightning-level opponents, one example being the Link from the Oracle games who was able to fight against Onox, an armored warrior capable of kidnapping the Oracle of Seasons during a flash of lightning. Most other Links compare to this through scaling, as many of them have fought against the stronger and faster Ganondorf, making Link consistently above massively hypersonic levels of speed. However, Breath of the Wild's Link has an even greater capability through the use of Flurry Rush and Bullet Time. These skills drastically increase both Link's combat and travel speeds to levels massively faster than the speed of light, practically slowing down or stopping time from his perspective. But Dante's no slouch when it comes to speed either. Dante has been casually dodging lightning level and possibly even light speed opponents since his younger days way back in DMC3 at the start of the timeline. With Dante getting stronger every game and facing stronger and faster enemies, it's no surprise that he's been able to unlock insane levels of speed in his current day. There are even arguments for putting him at infinite levels of speed, meaning that he breaks the speed formula by moving in 0 time. This is shown when he reacts to the Fury, a demon stated to move through space and time, basically teleporting through speed alone. and when he was able to move through Mundus's mirror dimension, a dimension possibly outside of time through the absence of the divinity statues, which are conduits for what's basically DMC's God of Time. Now, you could argue that Dante is simply reacting to the Fury's attacks rather than its movement, and that the mirror dimension possibly has its own flow of time created by Mundus, meaning Dante wouldn't be breaking the formula, but he still ends up with massively faster than light speeds regardless.
We should be able to understand how it works and how to use it to our advantage.
Intelligence is determined by how not dumb they are. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's basically just their ability to plan during combat and use creative strategies to best their opponents. And for intelligence, I'd say these two are pretty even, but in different ways. While Dante is better at split-second decision-making with his big brain billiards bullshit, calculating where all the balls are gonna go after he shoots them, Link is better at analyzing weaknesses in his opponents and finding ways to exploit them, making this an interesting battle of mindsets, strategy versus instinct in a sense. So good, none of them got the pool brain, but how do all these stats come together? Well, let's find out real quick, shall we? Not looking too good for Link there. With the only two stats that even compare to Dante's being his intelligence and his speed that only happens when fighting at full force with Flurry Rush, this is looking an awful lot like the Virgin Chad meme of versus battles. But fear not, Nintendo fanboys, for there is still hope for Santa's little helper. So ho ho, hold your rage-gasms. You didn't even let me, oh my god! For you see, children, good stats does not a final result make. Now, while these stats certainly do account for general fighting ability and is a good measurement as to who would win in a fight under normal circumstances, there is still one factor that can take the results of an entire fight and turn it on its head. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know what hacks is, hacks are extremely powerful and broken abilities that can allow much weaker characters to take on stronger opponents and still come out on top. Things like turning people into objects, copying or stealing abilities, wish granting, a whole cavalcade of crazy abilities that just seem to make the user unstoppable without a proper counter to the ability. And Dante and Link are no strangers to this concept. These two are just something else. With The Legend of Zelda having such a long history of crazy puzzle-solving items and powers, a few dumb, crazy abilities were bound to rear their ugly heads. He can trap individuals in stopped time, travel back in time, turn weaker enemies into dumb little slime creatures, create clones, seal enemies, teleport, phase into walls, and even heal himself. But the main ones I want to talk about are in regards to his defenses. Link's multitude of magical armors and shields make him one of the most untouchable video game characters that I've ever researched. With the magic armor protecting him from attacks by expelling rupees, the mirror shield and Daruk's protection absorbing and reflecting projectiles, and the protection ring making all actual attacks only cost a minimal amount of damage, there's not much that anyone can really do to him in an even fight like this. And that's just his passive abilities. He still has a wide range of shield spells that he can activate, one of them being Nehru's Love, a barrier that is considered indestructible within the Zelda universe.
But Excalibur, Nehru's Love uses up his magic, so can't you just wait until he runs out?
Of course, little annoying one, if you can defend yourself from him for up to 6 fucking days of unlimited magic. Chateau Romani, bitch! And even if you do manage to kill him under all that, he can still revive himself with Mipha's grace. What can Dante do against this? Not only will none of Dante's melee attacks work, but his ranged attacks are actually a detriment to him due to Link's reflection abilities. And it's not like Dante has some sort of magical sword that can cut through anything, or the ability to blow up people from the inside. Oh. Yeah, he has exactly those things. Along with the ability to slow down time, teleport, clone himself, seal people, regenerate, reflect damage, make indestructible armor, and has unlimited demonic energy if you 100% his games. Yeah, this certainly seems like a stomp in Dante's favor. Not only does he have just about all of Link's hacks abilities, in some ways even better versions of them, but he can even counter his crazy defenses with the Yamato and Demolition abilities. But even despite that, there is still a chance that Link can pull off a W here. Link has 3 special items in its arsenal that might be able to turn the tide, but whether or not they'll work on Dante as intended is questionable. The first item is the Magic Cape, an item that allows Link to become intangible and phase through attacks. This might be one of Dante's biggest problems, because while he has been able to fight intangible phantoms before in the DMC1 novel, this may have been due to his demonic heritage, allowing him to touch other demons or spooky ghosties despite their lack of form, so his ability to touch Link while using a purely magical form of intangibility is kind of up in the air. The other 2 items I'd like to bring up are the Golden Sword and the Light Arrows. Both of these weapons are known to be particularly effective on beings with evil or demonic powers like Ganondorf or Calamity Ganon, being able to paralyze them and kill them where no normal weapon could. If these weapons work as intended, they could completely nullify Dante's demonic powers, leaving him completely helpless. The only problem is that while Dante's powers are demonic in nature, which is considered evil in the Zeldaverse, he himself is not. So the question comes down to whether the weapon's powers feed off evil energy or evil alignment.
Final results!
Okay, so I know this is gonna sound like a bit of a cop-out, but I think whoever's most likely to win is kind of up to you. If you think that Link's 3 hacks items work against Dante, then Link probably wins a majority of the time. Even if Dante were to blitz Link due to his higher speed and the Yamato or Demolition, Link would simply be revived by Mipha's Grace, understand that his normal defenses are useless, and then just use the Magic Cape and be untouchable for 6 days straight. Dante would have to use Devil Trigger, Quicksilver, or Trickster to avoid every single one of Link's Flurry Rush or Bullet Time attacks for over 6 days, just to be able to survive with Link constantly looking for a weakness to exploit, and I just don't think that's reasonable for him to be able to do in this circumstance. However, if you think the items don't work on Dante, then this is an absolute stomp in his favor. All he has to do is use Yamato or Demolition twice, and Hyrule's champion is gonna need a new reincarnation. Now for round 2, where more traditional power scaling is taken into effect and the characters aren't equalized, I don't think I need to explain much. Dante wins. But just look at the stats and see where they came from. Link's defenses, even Nehru's love, would be demolished by the first attack made by Dante. The fight would probably go a little something like this.
Don't look so big from where I'm standing. It's just you and me, Mr. Savior. This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
The only way that I can even imagine Link winning is if he had the completed reality warping, wish-granting Triforce, which he's never had possession of. At least not in a way that gives him any sort of amp or the chance to use it in a fight. So yeah, brotherly love beats triangle fetish any day. Now, before I end this video, I just want to give a few shout-outs to some of the people that really helped me out with this video. Shout out to TNL Capoline for suggesting Dante vs. Link as a versus battle. I also want to give a shout out to Zimatorn and Mr. Mangler. They helped me understand a lot of the fucking Batman levels of research needed to properly represent Devil May Cry.
Anyhow, send that transmission through. I wonder who it could ever be.
It is Isaac!
So check out Zim's channel if you have any passing interest in Devil May Cry or any other power scaling content. And finally, I want to give a shout out to all of you guys. I'm still genuinely shocked every day that despite the fact that I haven't uploaded in over half a year, you guys are still around for the ride and even growing to over 4,000 people. Seriously, thanks for that. It's just really humbling, and I'd like to reward you for that by continuing to make more content and allowing you guys to interact with me more. I would like to start working on videos full time and could use your help in making that possible. So I've started a Patreon where you guys can do just that. You guys can get on my exclusive Discord, ask me questions, help with future videos, and even get shoutouts and credits at the end of my videos like these. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, favorite, comment, and subscribe, and I will call you guys for the next council. Later.